everyone, it's Kate from the Forward Line. I am back this week to talk all things sewing bee. If you didn't see this week's episode, please don't watch this because it's got spoilers in it. So go and watch it and then come back and we will find the patterns featured in the show for you. So this week was Children's Week, which actually was quite tricky for them, all the contestants. I thought it was quite a hard week, especially if I've actually never sewn any kids' clothes, and actually watching them all cut bits out and realising how tiny all the pieces were, I realised actually how fiddly and tricky they were. So the first challenge was a romper suit, a baby's sort of romper suit. It had crossover straps at the back, it had some elastic at the back of it, and it had little poppers sort of kind of so you can get nappies off and whatever underneath. I thought this would be very easy to find. I've got 3 patterns actually, which are quite, all of them feature some of the features on the one on the show, but none of them are absolutely perfect, but I thought they're really lovely patterns, so if you haven't come across them before, they're definitely worth checking out. So the first pattern I've got to talk to you about is the baby penny romper from Dorado Davies. This comes in newborn to 24 months. This one I thought was the source of the closest in terms of the overall silhouette. It had the poppers underneath at the bottom, and kind of between the legs, elasticated little kind of round the, I guess, not even cuffs, that's not the right word, like the elasticated hems at the bottom, and then these really kind of quite thick straps. So the straps on this one weren't quite the same, but I really love this. So they've got little poppers at the top and then a really nice little feature with a pleat at the centre front. So I thought these are actually a really lovely pattern, and I reckon you could whip these up quite quickly, it wouldn't take you too long. The next one I've got is the baby's Flory woven romper from Pattern Paper Scissors. I put this one in because I thought this definitely had a similar feel. The thing that's different about this is that it didn't have the poppers between the legs, but in terms of the overall look I thought this was really similar. It had the crossover detail at the back, it has this really lovely tie detail at the the straps tied kind of, I would imagine you do a buttonhole, feed the thing through and tie a knot. So they're quite good and easily adjustable. You can also use a button on this if you wanted to. I just love them. I thought they were really sweet. Really sweet, and they are pretty similar. The last one I've got is the Wild and Free dungarees from Waves and Wild. Waves and Wild, if anyone is thinking I've never heard of them, they are originally made by Jack's mum, who has rebranded as Waves and Wild, so you might think, oh, I've seen that, but I'm sure that wasn't the same designer. I've just realised the last one I didn't tell you the sizing, so this one is so the baby's Flory woven romper is 0 to 24 months, which is the same as the first one. And this one comes in newborn to 12 years. So this one that I'm about to talk to you about actually goes up quite, it's got a really decent sort of size range. So the thing that was most similar about this is it had that elasticated panel and crossover detail at the back. I'll show you a picture so you can get an idea. This was one of the big features of the show, the one on the show, so I wanted to include this one because I felt this one was pretty similar. I love that, again, that you could buy this one pattern and make it, for all ages. I think it's a really versatile piece. I think you could also, if you wanted to, this one features that sort of tie at the front, but you could definitely change that to buttons or whatever you wanted. You could have little loops that you sew it through. It would be completely up to you. So I hope those 3 were like nice rompers and good sort of inspiration for if you wanted to make one. The middle section, which was the upcycling section, was I loved it this week actually. The theme was a fancy dress under the sea, and they all got given wetsuits, old wetsuits, floats, and those sort of, what do they call those noodle floats that kids have in the pool, and they had lots of other sort of really what's the word, it's kind of waterproof fabrics. So they got to make outfits which were actually, I have to say, this week's transformation was it the transformation? Yes, this was the best I think that I've seen. I thought the outfits were amazing that they made. The one that won was a crab this week, which I thought was so brilliant. And they'd used the noodles as the legs, and it was really clever. And they'd cut, you know, these sort of flat floats, they'd cut those into claw shapes, which sort of hung at the front, and it was really, really clever. So then the final challenge was sewing a child's raincoat. This one, in terms of, for us, was quite tricky actually, because there aren't a huge amount of kids sewing patterns which are raincoats, which I was quite surprised at, because I feel like that's quite a kind of classic thing to make. But maybe it's, I don't know, I don't have children, so I'm just wondering whether it's almost too complicated to make for a kid's pattern. I don't know, but there weren't loads. So I'm going to get started. I've got a couple which I think are bang on, a few which are kind of middly, and I think there are a couple of people who were using this, I think were using the same pattern. So first person I'm going to start with was Adena. Adena Dinosaur coat. I love this. So it's kind of green with dinosaur details on the pockets. It was really sweet. It had a 3-piece hood. Really, really sweet. So the pattern that we found is the School Days jacket and coat from Oliver and Ness. This one I know is correct because they zoomed in and I caught a little glimpse of her instructions and then worked out which pattern it was from that. So I know this one is right. And actually when you look at the pattern, it does look quite different. The pattern is almost like a duffel coat, but she's obviously made alterations to take the little kind of duffel bit off the front, and actually it completely transforms it. I would never have picked this if I was hunting for it as the pattern for this coat. But this one comes in sizes 4 to 8 years. Oh no, sorry, 6 months to 8 years. And looks like a really nice pattern. I can see actually, I went and had a look on Instagram and a lot of people have made this, and Oliver and Ness patterns are fantastic for kids. So definitely worth checking out if you want a kid's pattern. Next up, we've got, who have we got here? Damien and Adam. I think they used the same pattern. So Damien's was, he used an actual shower curtain to make his, and he had a lining underneath, which I thought was really brave, because actually 2 really tricky fabrics and trying to merge them together, it was hard. And he had, the other thing I thought was really cool was he had these magnetic strips down the front and magnetic strips around the collar, so you had an attachable hood and a magnetic strip down the front, which I thought was amazing. Why don't actually more kids' clothes have that? Because it's so much easier, you just literally stick it together and it's done up, rather than trying to zip children into it. So the pattern that we found for this, which I'm pretty sure, I'm quite confident about, this one isn't on site, it's on Etsy by Rebecca Page, and it's called the Andy Children's Anorak Sewing Pattern, newborn to 12 years. So it's got a really great size range on this. This is your classic sort of sou'wester coat with a hood, raglan sleeves. It's got this really nice kind of quite deep hood kind of, what's the word? I can't even think what the right word is. It's got this sort of band around the hood that sort of does up, so it's quite sort of structured. It's got a pleat at the back. It almost looks a mixture of a raincoat and a trench coat. It's a really nice sewing pattern actually, but I've never used them. I don't know what the quality is like of them, so I can't sort of vouch for them, but I'm fairly sure this is right, because I took a very grainy photo and managed to work out from that it's this pattern. So I'm 19, definitely for Adam, I'm 100% sure this is correct. So next up we have got Fairies Unicorn Raincoat. She won Garment of the Week this week. Wasn't it incredible? I loved it. So hers was quite a simple little raincoat, button front or popper front, patch pockets, 3-piece hood. The thing that was amazing is that she sewed, loved, a unicorn mane into the back. So she had this, it was kind of ombre from a sort of darker purple to a lighter purple. I guess she'd used a wig or something, and then attached it to the back of the coat, and you could just imagine that is basically every girl's little dream. And then the rest of the print on the coat was rainbows and unicorns. It was so wonderful. Like, you know, I would have just, as a kid, died and gone to heaven for that, because it was just so great. So the pattern I found for hers is the same one as what I found for Rebecca as well, because I felt like these were the same. They're very similar cut, patch pockets, normal sleeves, what's the word, poppers up the front. I just felt like these were so similar. The pattern that I found, which I think, I'm not sure is 100% perfect, but I definitely think you could use, and it's a really wonderful pattern. It's actually, excuse me, quite a new pattern, so it probably wasn't the one featured in the show, but if you are looking for a kid's raincoat pattern, this feels like a really fantastic one to go for. So it's the Mini Jacques raincoat from I Am Patterns. This one comes in ages 3 to 14 years. If you're looking at this and thinking, I absolutely love this, I wish I could make it in my size, fear not. There is an adult version of this and a men's version of this. So this pattern, you could actually buy them and make them for your entire family. You could all match, which would be quite funny. So this pattern is great. It's a classic raincoat. It's got patch pockets. It's got flaps on the pockets with press studs down the front. It's lined. It's just gorgeous. It's such a classic coat. I think it's one that you would make and get loads and loads of wear out of. And I just felt, looking at those two girls' coats, the line drawings from the show, I think that's kind of right. So next up we have got Serena. So Serena really was tricky. I did look really hard, and I think this could be right, because she does use quite a few indie patterns. So the pattern that I think she used was the Baby and Child mini collection from Pauline Alice. This comes in sizes 3 months to 3 years. Now this is currently on our site out of stock, and it is coming back in. I've placed an order, so they should be here in the next week or so. But this is such a great kind of good quality bundle of patterns. So you get a coat, a dungaree and a top with it. 3 months to 3 years, you could make it a couple of times for sure and it'd be well worth it. But it's lovely little jacket, raglan sleeves, hood. I just think it's gorgeous, and it looks really similar to hers as well. So I think that could be right. Hard to tell. So next up we've got Raf's French gentleman's coat. Oh no, sorry. French Guatemalan coat. Sorry, that was a very dyslexic reading of that. I think this one is right. I caught a little glimpse. I think it's right. So it's another one from Etsy, so I can't vouch for how good it is, but it's Sarah J. Patterson raincoat. It's got press studs down the front, a 3-piece hood, which his has got, little patch pockets. It just looks very similar. It looks really similar to his, and I think this could be right. This doesn't let me have a look on ages. Oh, sorry. So 2 years to 10 years. Yeah, so that's that one. Last but definitely not least is Andrew's reversible coat. I thought his was really clever, properly reversible. I think I've got the right pattern for this one, I'm pretty sure. It's again an Etsy one, and it's called, the company is called Paparita, and it's children's reversible hooded jacket PDF sewing pattern. I'm just looking at the line drawings, I'm 99% sure. The cool thing about this pattern, if you have children who are obsessed with animals, there are like animal variations to it. So there's a bunny and a bear option where you add kind of ears to the hood, which is quite cute, and you can make the pockets look like paws, which is quite fun. So that one is really a really fun pattern if you want to check it out. But he went quite classic with his, but I thought it was really lovely. So that is it from me. I hope that was helpful, and I hope you found some nice patterns that you enjoyed, and we'll be back next week with another video. There is a link down below to the blog post so you can find a bit more out if you're interested, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye.